Hey, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Daniel. This is Nate. We have some guests that were on from a couple weeks ago. This is the Seven Figure Music School podcast. We're very excited that you're tuning in today because we had one of the more exciting episodes that we've aired this year a couple weeks ago with Kate and Rebecca when they did a 5 for 5. And we wanted to have them back on to really dig into the nuts and bolts of what makes Monkey Bar music work and why, in my opinion, they've had so much success in so little time. We've got a great episode here for you today. And let's actually just jump right into it. And we're not going to assume that everyone necessarily heard the 5 for 5. And so, Kate, Rebecca, I'd actually like to jump in and talk a little bit about what Monkey Bar music is. I know we kind of gave a little bit of a summary at the top of the show of the 5 for 5 episode, but I think we have a little bit more time to kind of delve into not just what Monkey Bar music is, but even how it got started. So, could you introduce yourselves, tell everyone where you're at, and then we're going to start digging into what is one of the most unique music businesses I've ever come across in the last 10 years I've been doing this job. So take it away.
Sure. So I'm Rebecca. This is Kate. We're both sisters and we own Monkey Bar Music, and we operate outdoors in local parks in the Los Angeles area. And we have never had an official storefront to our business. We operate all outdoors in the parks and bring in all of the materials that we need to operate fantastic early childhood classes for kids all the way from 0 to 3 years old. So our teachers bring in all of the materials necessary. We bring in drums, we bring in shakers, scarves, puppets, everything that we need for all of our lessons. We're like a traveling band. And then we go over to the next park and do it again the next day. And we started Monkey Bar Music actually during kind of at the tail end of COVID, because Kate got asked by a family to do a Mommy and Me class.
So I had a parent approach me and ask, hey, can you do a parent and me class outdoors in the park? I want a way for my little one to be able to socialize with other children their age. And I started one class in a park close to that family's home, and there were about 5 or 6 children in the class. It was out of the network of that one mom who just kind of brought some families together. And I found that when I started to teach the class, we just had so many families that were coming up and asking, hey, how can I join this class? How can I be a part of this? And now we've grown our business to be operating every weekday in various parks throughout the Santa Monica and Venice Beach area. And we operate. And we have about 160, 170 students that are coming into our program weekly.
Okay. So you're in LA,
Yes.
famously being the movie town. And there was a movie that came out about 30 years ago called Swingers. And famously, they did not have permits to shoot. And so they would literally go to a street and shoot in the middle of the night. And they didn't have the proper permitting to actually shoot their movie. And obviously that movie was very successful. It launched Vince Vaughn's career. Are you guys going to these parks and nobody knows and you're just like running these classes? Like, why are you allowed to work in these parks? How are you able to get away without having a storefront?
That's a great question. Santa Monica has a great deal. We actually operate under a fitness permit in Santa Monica because we're movement and music classes for little guys. And then outside of Santa Monica, it's park specific. So we have had many a time working with the Parks and Rec department where Kate and I will have to stake ourselves outside of their community buildings and offices to get an actual physical permit to be able to operate outdoors wherever we are. But still, I mean, we operate anywhere from, it would be, I don't know, $10 to $30 an hour to be able to hold classes outdoors in any given park. So our overhead is still fairly low, and it still is cheaper than if we were to have a physical space.
So my question for you is, where did you come up with this idea? Because this is the spirit of what you all have done. So many people want to get their music lesson business out of their house, and they look at jumping to a commercial location as like this massive thing, like, oh, I got to take a loan, all this sort of thing. You guys somehow managed, just through the ingenuity of the human spirit, to come up with a really unique way of avoiding those massive overhead costs that most schools have. So, like, where did this idea come from?
Well, it was mostly just born out of that one class that I started. And we, at first just kind of we hired our friends to teach the classes, and kind of created a small just network of people that were interested in teaching. And we kind of went through the school of hard knocks when it came to the permitting. So we, once we had grown to the point where we were saying, yeah, we probably should have a permit. We aren't operating, just one class a week for this one family. We would go to the city or to that individual park and figure it out and figure out how to do it and go from there and just build class by class.
But it came out of something that we knew was joyful because we felt the joy doing it. And so we were constantly, whenever we were outdoors in the park, we constantly had people that were coming by saying, I want to be a part of this. How do I join this? And we felt so much joy being outdoors in the park and being able to make music outdoors and having the children come and just being able to sing with them for the half an hour that they were in class, that we knew that the unique environment and location that we were in, it adds to the ambiance and the magic of our classes.
I want to kick it to Nate here in just a second, but I just want to point out one thing before I do. And that is, you all were coaching clients of mine for over a year, I think even a year and a half.
Yeah.
In the early days of this business. And one of the first things I knew about you all, that I observed about you all, was just a relentless but authentic positivity, not a fake positivity, not this Stuart Smalley, fakeness. And I just want to point this out, because it would be so easy for you to have hit a few roadblocks and say, this probably isn't going to work. And I think in hindsight and looking at how big this business has become, because it was quite small when we met, or it was much smaller than it is now, is that, and I want to talk about this later in the podcast, but I just noticed this spirit about you all that saw opportunity where maybe others would see, that's too hard, or, they hit their first obstacle and they quit. And I think that's why you guys have built something so unique. I have to point that out because I think that's a theme that really should undergird the rest of our conversation together. But we can explore that a little bit more later. Nate, I know you're over there. I just see your mind is churning a million miles an hour. I know you probably have a million questions.
There is a resilience piece, actually, Daniel, is partly what I hear and what you're saying. I'm curious, there's a sibling thing too that helps, right? Yes. You've already been through a lot together just to get to this stage of life.
Yes.
But you all mentioned this when we did our 5 for 5. And sort of next where I want to go with the discovery of your story is sort of some of the challenges that you've had. And you mentioned this when we did the 5 for 5, and I was intrigued, and I wrote down a bunch of notes here, which was that you said you have to learn, you gave this advice, which is know when to say no. Like start getting, you don't even need to know when to say no, but build the muscle of no, right? Yeah. Like grow that muscle. And you described how people would come to you and say, we love what you are doing. Bring it into our space. And I think you guys said yes often.
Yeah.
But it sort of somehow is hooked into this brilliant marketing move you have, which is when in a public space, it's the ultimate word of mouth, that they actually see it and they come to you. But there's also another side to that, which is you actually have to learn how to discern.
Yes.
Right? Definitely. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then I have a couple of follow-up questions, but I'm curious about what you said yes to early on that you're really clear about saying no to now.
Both of us are very glass is half full type people. And so when somebody is coming up to you and kind of stroking your ego as a business owner, it's very easy to get wrapped up in the opportunities and the potential of what they could be offering. And so we did have a lot of people that would come up to us at the beginning and say, hi, I have a group of nannies or a group of parents that are interested in starting a class. Would you be interested in going into my home and doing a class in my home? Or
there's a great community of nannies at this park. Why don't you come and bring your classes to this location?
And so we chased at the beginning of all of this. We chased what people were telling us because we're like, well, the customers are supposed to be telling us, right? The community is supposed to be telling us where the demand is and where we should be going. And so we chased that a lot at the beginning. And a lot of times it didn't pan out the way that we wanted it to pan out. And so we've gotten very selective over making sure that the opportunities that we're saying yes to, we have so much control over, because we feel really confident that we are able to provide a quality product and we're able to provide an amazing class experience. And we want to have as much control over that as possible, as much control over who is signing up for these classes, how they're signing up for the classes, the space that we're in, the teachers that are teaching, the people that we're collaborating with. And that has made all of the difference in us discerning whether we're going to say yes or no to something, is how much control do we have over the outcome of this. And if we're going to somebody's house and they're getting Venmo payments from everybody to be able to pay you, and then all of a sudden they're sick one day and we're not, I mean, it got to the point where we weren't able to have any sort of consistency. And, or, you know, we're going into a Parks and Rec department where they're handling registration for us. It got difficult because nobody's going to fight for your business like you're going to fight for your business. And we wanted to be able to have full control over all of those aspects.
Yeah. You know, what's so fascinating? That's a great answer, Rebecca. The thing that's fascinating to me is that I can hear in my head in my early days, because I think we're similar in this way, where we're like, I know this is awesome. I can feel that I'm in the right place. Like I've made a good career choice. This feels great. And so your initial comment of people massaging your ego, being like, yes, Rebecca, yes, Kate, you're doing exactly what you're meant to do. Now come to our house and do it more. Yeah. You think they're doing the marketing, they're doing the sales, and they're telling me I'm a badass. I love it. It's perfect. The thing that's what we miss in that story is the nuances of what it means to run a really intentional and sort of methodical business. And you put it so well when you're like, actually, we want customers to start here, learn about us, fill out this form, which seems annoying, but actually is really intentional.
Right. Then
give us a credit card. We don't want Venmo payments through friends. We want it to go exactly this way. And I really think that's, I mean, hearing your story, it feels totally natural that you'd say yes, yes, yes. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why is this so hard? You're like turning to your sister and you're like, I don't understand why we just did this in-home visit and I'm kind of annoyed.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You know, it's like, I love that. And I think for our listeners too, it's very hard to say no to quick money.
Right.
Especially when you're early on and you have cash flow issues. Yes. Right. I know you guys had side hustles, et cetera, but there's deep, it sounds to me, and tell me a little bit more about this, but I have a friend who says, you know, if it feels weird, it is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so there's a trusting of intuition that's coupled with, you know, you were doing coaching with Daniel. So he's like, by the way, this is the next action you should take.
Yeah. Well, I actually want to jump in here and comment on this, because if you are starting something new and there is no proven track record, you know, so like for right now, anybody can contact Nate and can license Big Music games, and they get an entire suite of tools and instructions on how to use them, that sort of thing. You guys didn't have that. And so I do think at the beginning, there does have to be a more exploratory and experimentation mindset, so that it's actually kind of okay that you chase the money a little bit at first. And I'm not invalidating anything that Nate has said or anything that you have said, but when there are no rules and you're truly building something from scratch, there has to be more of that exploratory mindset. And I think that's why you all being glass half full people really served you, because you almost, I'm going to say this is something a friend of mine who lives in London says, you kind of have to gaslight yourself. Because there is so much failure at the beginning. There is so much, oh, dang it, that didn't work either. That that you kind of have to gaslight yourself into being still positive about it while you're building it. But that's where the belief and the mission really kicks in. Because when you truly believe in something, there's no such thing as work-life balance when your whole life is the mission.
Right.
And so when things aren't going well and you're just like, no, but I know this is going to work because look at the energy of these people who are happy right now. And that kind of can sustain you, you know?
Yes.
Right.
Well, and it's only been in about the past year that Kate and I have been so comfortable with where we've been able to build the business that we can look people in the eyes and say, no, this is what we're doing and we're going to stick to this. And it does take all of the different avenues. There's never been one business that we've been able to look to for guidance throughout this whole process. So we did need to learn along the way. And all of those experiences have led us to this point where we're able to make a better decision on what avenue to explore and what avenue not to explore.
And now we can be really laser focused on what we do want to put our time into because we've exited out of this more exploratory phase and we figured out what works and what hasn't.
Where did the curriculum come from for you all? Was it, I know it's never fully formed at the beginning, but did you really have the whole thing ready for that first class? Or did it just start with drums, then you added the parachutes later? I think you see what I'm getting at here. I want to spend not too long, but maybe just like 1 to 3 minutes, like figuring or hearing from you all where the idea came from, because it is an integral part of your success. That word of mouth didn't come because you had a boring class. The class is really, really good. So where did it come from? How did it develop? Was it largely there at the beginning or did it develop over time? I'd love to hear about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it came from a variety of places. So Rebecca and I participated in early childhood music classes when we were young. And so we had that foundation from a really young age and we knew the benefits and we had heard the benefits from our parents talking about it growing up. And so, I mean, I would say that's it kind of, we internalized a very small amount of it from there, but also we have experience being classroom teachers. We've had experience working in a variety of settings and have just gone through several different teacher trainings. And so we were able to kind of pull a little of this, a little of that. And we came up with a very, very rough foundation of what our classes looked like. We were able to kind of, our classes are mostly original, but we do take from classic childhood songs as well, because that does bring a lot of engagement, especially from new families that haven't experienced a class before. So we were able to kind of take some concepts from children's classics and also all of the trainings that we've been a part of, from, being trained in ORF Schul work, being certified credentialed classroom elementary general music teachers as well as some other specialized trainings.
But yeah, it very much started out at the beginning. I mean, Kate and I were teaching the classes for, I would say, about a year before we hired anybody.
Yes.
So at the start, when we first were going into the park, it was a Google Doc of 20 activities that we were going to do. And we would go in and then slowly over time, we were able to massage it into class chunks. So we have like a drum chunk and a scarf chunk, and of course a bubbles chunk, because that's the most exciting part of class, and parachute. And we were able to create a structure that then we could play around with. And then we started adding in our own activities. Once we were able to see, wow, the idea of kids scrunching a scarf and throwing a scarf in the air is really exciting to them. Let's create a song that centers around that. Or, wow, they really love when we bring out a kangaroo puppet and a kangaroo puppet is hopping around. So let's create something around that. We were able to make the curriculum a little bit more our own.
And then we're able to also, we're frequently taking feedback from teachers. So we're meeting with our teachers constantly and saying, hey, what worked in this module? What didn't work? And we're even continuing to refine our curriculum now that we aren't actively teaching the classes weekly. And hearing from our teachers is really helpful because, it's always helpful to hear those battle-tested comments, right? Oh, this really worked in this setting, but we encountered a class of all babies and this activity doesn't really work as well for this. So that gives Rebecca and I a lot to digest and kind of say, okay, how can we modify this? How can we create either some more training for our teachers for how to incorporate this into a class with babies, maybe some messaging to give to the parents. A lot of what we give to our teachers too is comments to give to the parents to kind of tag that learning. So We might say, okay, in this activity, we're going to be really focusing on keeping steady beat. Here is, even if your little one can't drum on a drum yet, you can tap on their back, or you can tap on a part of their body, really help them to internalize that steady beat. So we're constantly giving our teachers ways to involve all of the different students in the class, and then also pointing out the benefits and the directives of that activity to the parents, because that's a really important piece of the curriculum as well.
Wow. And I'm going to take this moment to point out that we had a similar experience at Piano Express from grouplessons.com, which is one of the sponsors of this podcast, I will point out. Yeah, right. Dropping the wonderful little product placement in there. But we used Piano Express, obviously, internally to our own studio for over a decade before we started sharing it with other studios. And so we had specific ways of teaching songs. We knew how to use the tools. And then when at this point, a ton of other studios started using it, we started getting feedback from those schools. They didn't think like we did. And so we started getting feedback from the schools that were working with us, like, oh, every child seems to be stuck on this song, or what did you mean in the teacher guide when you said this? And so it was that feedback that we got from those schools that turned it into what I consider to be the best group curriculum in the world right now, because it allows students to make individuated progress within the context of a group. And most of the other curriculums out there slow all the children down to a group. They sacrifice the individual's progress for the group experience. Anyway, check that out at grouplessons.com. But I love hearing what you all said about that. Nate, did you have any thoughts about what they were just saying there?
One simple question: bubbles. I need to know about the bubbles in the lesson plan. What am I to describe?
Bubble time is the most exciting part of the lesson. We bring in bubble wands and the kids get to pop bubbles.
It's also an opportunity for us to play, classical music and get that into the curriculum as well.
Nice.
Directed listening time for the kids, and then they get a little bit of their energy out and it's running around and popping those bubbles.
And we're really diving deep into bubbles in a way that most companies don't, but we do think about these things. It's also a time for our teachers to handle any administrative things that they need to, because our teachers are our secretaries, our teachers are our assistants. I mean, they're handling everything because we don't have a physical storefront.
And so oftentimes we'll tell teachers, hey, if you didn't get attendance or you needed to address something administratively, you can go around during bubble time and take that opportunity in the middle of class to take care of it.
Okay, so I have a couple of teacher questions for the benefit of our listeners. So how many teachers currently do you all employ other than the two of you? I'm not sure if you all are teaching anymore. I'm guessing you're teaching some, but sporadically.
We are not teaching weekly classes at this time. So we are having our employees run all of the classes, and then we're hopping into sub as necessary.
Nice. Congratulations. So how many teachers a true scaled business. I love it.
Yes. We have 3 employees right now.
Awesome. And you said a moment ago, Kate, you were like, we meet with them a ton, but what does that really mean? How often do you connect with them, and what's the rhythm there?
Absolutely. So we're meeting every other week. So we have a meeting as a full team. And then we have a teacher who's also doing administrative work for us that we meet with separately weekly as well. And we use that as an opportunity to touch as a touch point for any other teacher feedback that we need. So we're meeting with that teacher, and then we meet as a full team every other week. We're asking them for feedback on curriculum, just any problems that they're encountering. And we find that it's really important to have our teachers have a place to be able to address the entire team, because our team is so disconnected, right? We're operating from a different location, and our teachers work in teams of 2. So some teachers may see each other during the week, but then they may not see certain teachers. So it's a good opportunity to come together and just be able to come as a unified front. And our teachers have the opportunity to really feel heard and feel like they're making a difference in what's the decision-making process in the company.
We do also have a form that all of our teachers fill out at the end of every single shift, where they can just let us know anything unexpected that happened that day, anything that they'd like to individually address with us, any enrollment things. And so we're able to call employees individually if there's anything that in between those times, anything they need to talk about.
I love it. One last structure question, then we'll move on. But so my sense, just from meeting you two and talking over this app and the last, is that I feel like, Rebecca, you're living a bunch in the marketing and sales and administrative area, maybe. And I feel like, Kate, you're designing curriculum, you're in that delivery on promise. Am I getting this sort of right? Or how do you divide and conquer all the different roles within a business like yours?
We both help each other out, definitely.
Yes.
But I think that that's where each of us finds more comfort and what we're more passionate about. I'm more passionate on the numbers and administrative and oversight in that area. And Kate just is more, she is just always thinking of creative, amazing, wonderful ways that we can strengthen the curriculum side of things. But we're definitely really lucky that we're able to have each other to bounce ideas off of and to go through all of the difficult days that you have in a business. It's so nice to be able to have somebody to just double check if the decision that you're making is the right decision, or just kind of hype you up a little bit in those moments where you might need it.
And then my husband also helps on the marketing side of things. So he runs all of our ads.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
I think Daniel wants to dig into that before we close out this app. But I want to make one comment on the partnership that you two have. First of all, I can already tell, Daniel, our listeners, I can hear in their heads them going, either A, they're so lucky to have each other. They grew up with one another, so they know each other so well. My guess is you also have a yin to that yang. You're like, actually, the fact that we know each other so well is sometimes actually a little tricky to be in business together. But the other thing we oftentimes hear, and we actually hear this in the forum some, which is people are like, man, if only I had a business partner. But I really want to push back on this. And I want to just point out that what you two have in one another is like a trusted, not just a trusted partnership, but a trusted resource.
Yeah.
Right? And that's available to everyone listening right now. But it requires the idea of saying, hey, I'm not going to know everything. Nor, like you said, Rebecca, so nicely, you're like, I'm really more passionate in the numbers in these other areas. You actually have to kind of just own what you dig.
Right.
You know, like it's very clear, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about this on the pod, but like there's really no one at the factory except for Leah, who's our part-time bookkeeper and CFO, who likes numbers as much as me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, I stopped going to Jessica, my business partner, Pira, and these others to be like, you got to check out my latest forecast, because it's just not where they're super psyched.
Yeah.
Right. But I want to just, to all of our listeners, hearing your story is, instead of thinking, why didn't my brother go into business with me or my sister go into business with me, think, man, what a great opportunity if I could have a trusted resource. It doesn't have to be a business partner, but it has to be someone that you're ready and willing to go to regularly with right? Like, any words of wisdom around just like trusting one another?
Yeah, I love this
well,
question.
That's also where we've sought out mentors too. I mean, coming from an instrumental background, I've always had teachers who have really improved my skills as a player and I've really looked up to. And so that it was helpful when we initially went into our coaching with you, Daniel, too, to have somebody to be able to, I mean, you feel a little crazy at the beginning of like, oh, am I right to be feeling this way? Am I right to be making this decision? You almost need, like, you're a kid again. You need someone who's helping you to say, yeah, no, you're going in the right direction, helping to nudge you along a little. And I think that that's where mentorship can just be so helpful as well, especially when you're first starting out, to have someone who's just helping to build your confidence, helping to provide support and feedback, and helping you to navigate a little bit when you're not so sure-footed in your decisions at the beginning.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And let me just jump in here and say that, I mean, I appreciate you saying what you said, but I have to come back to you all and say something like really nice about you.
Oh,
I've been,
you don't have to.
well, no, but I have to, for the benefit of the listeners and watchers on YouTube. And of course, just to give you all your props. And that is this: I've worked for a long time with school owners, At this point, I've lost count, but Grow has helped somewhere around 1,000 schools, either in coaching or in our courses or our coaching programs, either with me or with some of the coaches here. And the school owners that I historically seen do the best are the ones that don't have this kind of internal dialogue or internal monologue of like defeat or pessimism or fear. And what struck me so much about our coaching time together, and I think this is going to kind of lead into some of the stuff about marketing that Nate had referenced a few minutes ago. What struck me was you all would come to me and you would ask these really just very earnest, well thought out questions. And I would tell you, go do this. And then I wouldn't hear from you guys for like 2 weeks. And then we'd get back on a call and it was all built. It was all done. You did exactly what I said. And my experience in coaching has been like, that is not the norm. What normally happens is I tell someone to do something and then I hear from them like why they think it doesn't going to work, what they fear is going to happen if they do that. Is this gonna work right away? It's not working right away. Why is it not working right away? Like there's just all this baggage, that mental baggage, emotional baggage that people load onto themselves that makes the same task a million times harder. But then not only that, and this is kind of where maybe I don't even need to qualify this. Actually, when the soundtrack is like that, it actually affects the execution. And I rarely ever got that from you guys or Steven. And just everything, it just felt like everything magically worked out. But here's what I know is true. It didn't magically work out because in the areas where I have been also blessedly free of that negative internal monologue, I've seen things just kind of magically work. And I just think there's this energy that you all brought to the point that I think you said, Rebecca, you were 25 when you started working with me, and Kate, you were 27, right?
Yeah.
You guys have had more success at the end of your 20s than I did. And more success than I've seen a lot of school owners who are 10, 20 years older than you. And I just think it is this, it's this positivity and this just, we're getting it done. We're not going to question. We're just following it. And I think actually your benefit or your strength was actually that you, this sounds bad to say, is that you guys didn't know a lot. So you're just like, just show me how to do it. And you guys went and did it. And the reason I bring it up is I'm looking at myself at 43 saying, man, I really actually need more of that spirit that they have. Like I'm looking at myself, your all's positivity kind of coaches me to some degree. And I would just say to everyone listening, like, this is the mind of the learner. Like it's almost an innocent mind. It's like as innocent as the kids you're teaching every day.
Yeah.
That's what we need to be. And so I'm just imploring everyone, admonishing everyone, begging everyone, have kind of that spirit there of just like the innocent learner who just goes and does without all the internal dialogue. I'm pointing at myself first. I don't know if you all have anything to say about that. I know I just paid you all a massive compliment, but it is well-deserved.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. And I mean, just to speak a little bit more, I think it's so important to have a growth mindset. And that's something that hopefully we'll have in all aspects as we continue in our business. Hopefully we can retain it. I know that it's something that when we're building a team, we really look for. And we talk to our teachers actively about is having that growth mindset. And hey, we might be able to hit this metric at this point, but we're always striving to do better. We're always striving to be the best version of ourselves in the growth of our program, in our teaching practices, in everything. And that's something we really seek out because we do always want to try to push our teachers to be the best versions of themselves. But thank you so much for saying that. That's very kind of you. And I don't know if I necessarily fully, I mean, hopefully we embody that, but
yeah, I mean,
I don't know if we do.
Of course, all of us know what's going on behind the scenes, and you all could have been a nervous wreck apart from me. I never got the sense that you were being authentic with me, but
No.
but it's worth pointing out because you all only know your experience and your journey, but I've seen the journeys of a ton of people, and it was just very remarkable to me the level of positivity you brought to just digging into things and not second guessing yourselves, not second guessing me. and that sort of thing, and us truly having kind of a collaborative partnership in the coaching where we just got a lot done in a short period of time. Yeah. And I want to move on to that because I know this probably feels a little awkward. I know I feel awkward if someone was complimenting me this much. So let's just move on to the marketing part and talk a little bit about, you said word of mouth was a big, so in the 5 for 5 episode, you said word of mouth was a big thing. But I also have to point out that something that I found very unique about the work that I did with you all was just how much you all crushed Facebook ads in getting kids into your program. And the level of sophistication that your funnel had, where I have worked with absolute killers, Facebook ad agencies that have been phenomenal. And you all were getting insanely low cost per leads, insanely low cost per conversions for kids for a program that, yes, was recurring, but that was very non-traditional, making it in a way much harder to get success with Facebook ads because what you were selling was not the norm. So maybe we should have Steven on for another episode, but you guys were actually very involved in it too. And we're looking at that same data. So tell me a little bit about how you guys got into the Facebook ads and from your perspective, why it worked, to whatever degree you could speak to it.
Yes. So our ad expert isn't here. So we'll try our best to explain it from our point of view because he's really getting into the nitty gritty numbers. But I will say at the start, one of the benefits of us operating outdoors is we have constant marketing just as a result of us operating our business. People are always walking by our classes on their way to the playground, walking to and from the playground. People are constantly seeing what we're doing, and our classes are just, as a result of them being classes for that age range, are really dynamic and they are joyful. So that is a huge way that we get people in. We never turn anyone away from a demo class. If somebody's just walking by, we tell our teachers, bring them on into the class, invite them to join. That's our biggest way that we can get people in the door, is by them actually feeling and experiencing our class.
And our teachers have pamphlets that they can hand out that offer first time discount codes. And our teachers have all been prepped on how to walk new clients through all of that. So our new clients that are coming in are getting hopefully strong and great messaging for the next steps, for how to sign up and all of that when they come in.
So actually our most valuable customer who stayed in the longest time, which Daniel, you're going to be, I don't have the numbers for you, but we do know that our customers that stay in the longest are ones that are that just see us in the park.
They just happen
because they're naturally there in the community. It fits into their weekly, daily schedule. So that's a huge side to our marketing. So we're always going around and inviting people to join a class while we're actually at the park. But yes, our Facebook ads, we found out really early on that so how do we simulate that, right? How do we simulate that experience that people feel when they're walking by our class in the park and get them excited about coming and joining a class when they're not actually there visually seeing it? And the way that we found to do that was, then we have to create a video. We have to show them visuals of what our classes look like in the park. And so we had a social media day where we invited people to come in for a class and we filmed them. And that's the bulk of really what we've been able to, that video that we did another one in, I would say, the past year that hasn't been as successful as that first video that we created 3 years ago. We've been able to go off of that pretty much for our advertising on Facebook and Google Ads for the past 3 years or so.
And it just shows our class in action. So it'll show, our little ones playing different instruments, moving, playing with the parachute, engaging with their parents, engaging with the teachers. So we just simulate what happens in the class. So we'll have a video clip of kids playing drums, playing parachute, interacting with their parents, interacting with the teachers. And so hopefully it gives our prospective clients an idea of kind of what the class is like via their social media when they're just scrolling on Instagram or Facebook.
So that's the video that people see when they're scrolling through, and then it essentially sends them to a link to sign up for a free demo. And we do all of our campaigns to get them actually into the class once they are there physically. So we have our teachers will approach them during the class and will kind of, they'll experience the class, obviously, and then they'll get to know a little bit more about the class from our teachers. And then once they have attended the class, we send them through a text message and email flow that basically just gives them more information on how to sign up and just asks if they're interested on signing up. We don't do a lot of indoctrination or anything there. It's more just informational of how to sign up from that point on.
And that video that you guys have produced, it sounds to me like you're essentially you're just like a rinse and repeat with that initial video shoot. Do you basically just go through and slice and dice that up into 1,000 different presentations, or how are you managing that content?
We just use that same video.
Wow.
We don't slice and dice it. People are always having babies. And so we have new people that are just coming in and seeing that video. And we actually get reached out to a lot from other businesses in the area from that ad as well. So we'll get local hospitals in the area contacting us. We'll get daycares in the area contacting us. Get a lot of people who want birthday parties. We target it to that specific area in Santa Monica, and it just gets shown a ton to the people that are in that location.
And we've tried other videos. We've tried variations, but when we've split tested it, we've just found that for some reason that original video does the best. So we've just continued to use it.
I'm just going to say this because the temptation for an interviewer would be like, well, what do you think makes that video so special? That's actually not the point. And I want to say that something to everyone listening is that years ago, actually almost 10 years ago, when social media content was becoming more and more of a thing, of course, it's been around for longer than that, but it was really the mid 2010s when all of the influencers and started talking about just how important social media was for your business. Everybody probably knows who Gary Vaynerchuk is at this point because he's been almost a staple in business wisdom for like 10 years. Gary actually had this phrase at the time. He's like, all it takes is one piece of content to totally change your business results forever.
Yeah.
One video, one blog post, one Instagram post. That's all it takes. He's like, I don't know why some of the things that I have done have gone viral. He's like, there are things I thought, oh, this is going viral. And it was like one of the worst pieces of content we put out that month. And then there's something else that I thought, oh, this is not that great. And it literally got 10x the views. And just the point that I want to make is you all created this video. You did not realize how important it was going to be for your business. And you probably created video before that for other aspects of your business. I know you have since then. And the point is that you just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway here. Because I've had that same thing happen to me, that there was something where I literally just turned on a camera, like at the last minute, wasn't even planning for something, shot a video, and it ended up being a massively helpful video for either my studio back in the day, or for Piano Express, or for Grow Your Music Studio, or for 7FMS, or the Founders Forum. And it's just like, you just have to do. And that is a takeaway people should take away from what you just said there, because that video ended up making your business.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, to some degree, it massively helped. Are there any other marketing methods that you've used that have been important? Maybe not as important as just the walk by traffic, the fact that you were out there, but anything else that was like, oh, that was important, even something mundane.
We've recently started dabbling in more community events, and also a more regular, reaching out more regularly to our email subscribers. And that has been amazing. Especially because we have high turnover in our classes. We operate more. This was a big thing that we had to come to terms with too. We're more like a gym in that realm rather than a music school, because we'll have 10 to 15 people that we churn through every single month that will be leaving because their baby's nap schedule changed, or their potty training, or they're moving out of the area, or it's just those kids' lives are changing so much in that time. So a lot of what we are doing with our emails is just reminding people that we exist and to come back into our classes at a time that it makes more sense for their kid. And I can imagine that will, as we grow our business older, it will be the same thing, that a lot of times people will leave at a time when it's not convenient for them to be doing our classes, but just by regularly sending out information and for them hearing from us, even if it's just an informational email or if it's a marketing email, that has been really helping. We have started a song of the month So we have our teachers film a song that we're doing in classes that month so that families can sing it at home and show it to their kids at home. And we get about, I would say, 2 to 3 purchases pretty immediately after we send that email, because people just remember that we exist and we're there.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's really great too. It's awesome for our clients to be able to engage with those posts, right? Because they'll recognize the song from the class and they'll comment on how their child was so excited to see their teacher. And so it's great engagement and great for prospective clients to be able to see that as well.
Yeah, our email list at Brooklyn Music Factory is by far the most impactful marketing tool we have. No question. No question. It crushes paid digital.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even within our bandwidth of what we were able to do up until this point. And even now, we're sending out 1 email a month, but I can only imagine how fruitful it will be as we devote more time into it.
Yeah, it's about it. And once a month is great. Those things are all about consistency and then the content. And you're doing something really smart. You're just like, hey, song a month. And you'll get a new song every month for 12 months. And what struck me when you were talking about, I loved how you were like, in our customer base, the nap schedule changes, and as a result, they're done. But of course, their nap schedule is going to change again, and they're going to circle right back.
Was there anything else that you all wanted to share?
Well, Daniel, you had originally reached out to us when we were handling everything with the fires. Did you touch on that at all?
You know, that was about a year ago, wasn't it?
No. 6 months ago. It happened in
6 months ago. Yeah. So,
it doesn't matter to us.
No. Well, because one of the questions I had for you on here was like, what challenges have you experienced? And we touched on that a little bit in the 5 for 5 episode.
Yeah.
But we asked, what challenges are you dealing with right now? But when I heard about the fires in LA and where they were located, I immediately thought of you guys, and I emailed you almost instantly. How did you navigate that challenge? What was that like for you at the time? How did it impact you all personally? How did it impact the business?
So it was really challenging. We had clients that Santa Monica is directly adjacent to Pacific Palisades. So we had clients that lost their homes and had to completely relocate. And on top of that, we had air quality concerns. So the fires, there were pollutants in the air. We weren't able to operate our classes. And so it was really tough. We definitely were we were figuring out how to navigate the situation day by day and oftentimes hour by hour. And so we were checking with our staff. We shut down our classes completely for a week. And because
we had staff members who had to evacuate, so they weren't able to actually physically teach the classes.
Yes, and we had a lot of families that, while the fires weren't directly in their area, they had to evacuate as well. Yes. So we had clients and staff. So it was an incredibly uncertain time, and it felt in a lot of ways really similar to COVID, weirdly.
I can imagine.
Didn't know what was going to be happening next.
And we had families who were messaging us just saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to want to bring my child outdoors again. You know, there was a lot of fear that was happening around that time. So we lost about 50 students in a period of a month and a half.
Yeah, that does sound very much like March of 2020.
Yes. So it was very difficult, and we weren't sure how long it was going to go for. We weren't sure what the damage was going to be. On top of that, handling people who were our customers who were hurting because they were dealing with the real issues of losing, their homes and their community. So it was very difficult. We had a week where we shut down classes. We had about another week that we operated indoors. And then we just took it day by day for the most part. After, everybody was excited about starting back up again outdoors, and we tried to navigate the situation on an individual basis. We refunded a ton of people. We canceled a lot of people's subscriptions, and for the most part, people, wanted to come back to something that was really joyful in their week. So we were really lucky that it was something they wanted to reintroduce pretty early on. But it's hard. We were reaching out to a lot of school owners in the area, just saying, hey, what are you doing? A lot of people who work outdoors, and we were getting mixed messaging from people. There were people who had shut down their business until about May or 8
Wow.
and took a huge hit. I mean, their programs diminished quite a lot. So we were lucky, and I think it was good that we were able to continue to try to maintain some sense of normalcy and move forward despite it, even though in our minds it was the easier route, or I guess the route that made the most sense was just let's just shut everything down and we'll build back up at another time when all of this isn't going on.
But we tried to maintain things as much as possible, and ultimately we looked towards what the public schools were doing and other institutions in the area for guidance. And so as soon as the public schools were sending their kids outdoors again, we said, that's it, we're going outdoors. And we provided for a time kind of an opportunity for parents to still bring their children indoors as a makeup opportunity for families that still were uncomfortable. And then we were able to pretty seamlessly transition back outside. So we were proud at how we handled the situation. There were a lot of really big emotions happening at the time, and a lot of people that were giving us very different advice. And it was hard to navigate through the emotions of our clients, the emotions of our staff, the emotions of the community, and each other, and try to figure out what the best plan was moving forward. But we just tried to figure out, okay, what we may not know what's going to happen fully, but what's the next right move in this one moment, and let's just start there. And we offered a massive discount for families that were coming back that had been impacted by the fires. So we were able to actually retain some of those clients as well.
Makes me wish that we did an episode, I don't know, a couple months back called Managing Your School Through a Crisis. And Nate, Alyssa, and myself, we each talked about a different crisis that our business went through. You all would have been the perfect fourth guest for that episode.
Yeah.
Just because something you said there struck me. Nate obviously pointed out the parallels to what happened in 2020, but you were on the ground and you were making the most of the information you had, and you were getting a lot of different words of wisdom from different people. And I'm just going to say this again. I just think you all probably approached it with the same way that I saw you all approach different challenges throughout the time we worked together. And it sounds like you've navigated through really well. And I'm just happy to hear that, because that actually leads to my final question here. What's next for you all? And we touched on this a little bit in the 5 for 5 episode around the fact that you are now in the early stages of opening up a quote unquote traditional music school with a location and that sort of thing. And I have to point out the obvious strategic benefits. You started with the preschool program, and now you're going to the music school. Most people start with the music school, and the preschool program is an afterthought. But of course, the strategic advantage of having a preschool program in your school is that you're capturing those families early. They're probably not going to go to a different school if they enroll their child in preschool program with you. And so could you touch a little bit on what you see all as the 5 to 10 year vision for both Monkey Bar Music and the music school?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, we just want to continue to provide a place for our customers to go next. So like you said, we're not traditional in the fact that we're starting kind of from the ground up in terms of our students' age, right? So we're getting them in as infants. So what we're working on right now is we're transitioning to full time. So we're going to have time to really be able to devote to this. And we're working on just creating curriculum and the programming that our students are going to go into next. And we don't exactly know what that's going to look like, but we're piloting a group piano program right now, and that's been really successful in its early stages. So we think we're going to, funnel our students into a pre-instrumental program and then ultimately into a group piano program, and we'll be able to serve students up to middle school age. And we hope to have a brick and mortar location and, eventually operate in multiple locations. I mean, we have big dreams for where it could go. So we're excited.
But always continuing your outdoor park
Yes.
version of the business.
Yeah, I don't think that ever will go away. We really see that there's a different clientele of people that are wanting to go outdoors in the parks. We have a lot of nannies who are walking nannies that walk from the clients' homes into the park, and they're there daily or weekly with their community. And so
all day, every day.
Yeah.
So
sounds like Brooklyn.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can really, we feel like that is a separate offshoot that stands on its own within already doing. And we, both of us don't live close to Santa Monica where we're operating. And so we see a world where our physical storefront is closer to where we live. And we're able to offshoots and locations that are further away from us because we've built that business from the ground up being in a different location already. So we see that there's an opportunity for us to expand the locations that we're in, even if they're not close to us and where we're living as well.
Nice, exciting. I think my final comment is back to how you navigated the fires and an earlier comment that you all made of just see a glass half full type of perspective. And what struck me when you were talking about how you navigated that challenge, which is an enormous one, right? Going from whatever you were at, 160, 180 and losing 50 that's a significant hit, right? But what struck me is that your families are coming back because of the joyful experience. And you're asking yourself, how do you navigate a challenge like this? And your answer is the most obvious one. You provide what the community needs.
Yeah.
It turns out that's exactly what you do. Right? This isn't a lesson that is has some radically different purpose. Right? You're like a joy first approach. And what more could the community ask for right now?
Yeah.
From a small business like yours. So it feels to me like you guys responded with that intuitive nature that has served you so well to date. Which is, how do we get out and serve? What do they actually need? The refunds are like, those hurt for a second, but not really.
Yeah.
You have families that have literally lost their home.
Yes.
It's a really easy yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like a full ride or whatever they need is quite easy. And the at least in our experience at the factory is that when you're truly building a community, they will always come back. The gratitude circle or the virtuous cycle is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And they will always come back and they will help you too with your brick and mortar. They will help you too with your multiple locations. We don't even need to know how yet.
Right.
Right? It's not about strategically knowing the answer to everything. It's about balancing both the strategy with your intuition. I love the way you all answered that. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that we ended on that note, which, that was full of tragedy in your community, but you handled it in a way that a small business like yours can be a real benefit.
Yeah.
So appreciate that.